Welcome to the 2024 annual business meeting here at the Fan Fest. We're so excited to be able to do this with all of you here and have it be a super fun event that isn't just a boring business meeting. We're going to be here, we're going to talk business, but then we're going to be able to go and hang out with players and do all sorts of fun stuff. So really excited to have you here. So first off, a big thank you to all the Alliance Council members. They're listed on the side over there. Particular shout out to Vice President Dwayne Nakamura, who is over here, and former President Paul Cox, who's a member as well. And Stacy's on the Alliance Council as well. So these are our Alliance Council people present. I think I saw a few others, Tom's here somewhere, but shout out to all of them. They do so much hard work, and we wouldn't be here today without them and the work they do. One thing that I wanted to make sure to talk about is how you can get elected to Alliance Council. Since everyone here is affiliated somehow with season tickets, you're part of the Alliance if you have season tickets. That means you can be an Alliance Council member. All you have to do is get 25 votes from other season ticket holders, and then you can come join us on a council and be part of Democracy in Action and Democracy in Sports. So if you want more information, you can talk to any of us that you see up here with their hands in the air. That's a crazy sound. I don't know what that was. And we can give you more information. There's a new voting site that just went up. You can find it on the Sounders website. We'll list it on our soundersalliance.org as well. So any one of you who is an Alliance member can join us and become a part of what we do and some of the fun stuff we do. And that's what I'm going to tell you about next on the next slide. So 2024 year in review. This is what we did on Alliance Council this year. So one of the first things we do, and it's one of my favorite things that we get to do every year, is work with the front office on jerseys. Now, we're not designing them. We're not choosing any elements of it, but we are one small voice that gets to be a part of it, and we get to kind of see them a little early too, which is cool. But you got to sign that NDA. You can't go out and tell anyone about them. So it's hard to keep some of that stuff to ourselves sometimes, but it's really important. We've already been working on some other kits that are coming up that you haven't seen yet, and we'll continue to work with the front office to make sure that happens. It's on a 2-year cycle, so we're always 2 years ahead. So we know what's coming, and I'm really excited about it, and I hope you will be too. One of the biggest things that we've been pushing for a really long time with the front office, and they were so awesome about listening to us on it, was the new Eternal Sounders Circle of Legends, the Hall of Fame that was announced this year, with the 1974 team being the first one introduced. This is an idea that I'm sure has been bouncing around in the Sounders front office for a long time, but probably 5 years ago, maybe 6 years ago, Dan Rowe and myself and Nicholas Biella on the council put together an entire process and just way to go about setting this up, and we shared it with the club. The club took that seriously, did their own due diligence, did their own research. Shout out to everyone who worked on that, but especially Nicole, who did a lot of work on that, and we were able to finally have that come to fruition after years. And I'm so excited for that, and I know that those in the front office are too, and it's just so cool that we're going to be able to honor Sounders of the past, not just MLS, but going all the way back to obviously that 74 team that is now in the Circle of Legends. Another big change this year that we've been working on with the front office is Fan Fest, why we're all here today. This is something that hasn't been happening for a little while. Obviously, COVID kind of killed that, and now we're back. So this is super exciting. Is everyone happy to be out here today? And yeah. Super great. Obviously, being here at the new clubhouse is amazing. If this is your first time here, welcome. We were lucky enough to have our Alliance Council meetings here, so we got to see it quite a few times, but such a tremendous thing, and seriously, shout out to Adrian and Hugh and all of the people that were able to make this happen, Tom especially, that without them, we don't know where the club's going to go, but this beautiful facility was built, and it's just been incredible to see everything come together and there be a synergy with the club. One thing we also do is we have periodic meetings with Sounders ownership, and we get to have our voices heard with the front office. So we hear you, we talk to you out in the stands, we talk to you on Twitter and Facebook and wherever. We take what you say, maybe sometimes dial down the negativity if we're losing, and then we let the front office know. And so your voices are heard, and obviously there is a direct conduit for you. You can always talk to your ticket rep, and that's going to get there. But we also get to sit down with the owners and have conversations with them and be real with them and tell them what's going on. So thank you to all of you for giving us that information, and thank you to the front office for taking that relationship seriously, because it's truly one of the highlights of being a part of the Alliance Council, is to get to sit down with ownership, with Craig, and hear about what's going on with the team. And it's tremendous that they take that seriously. And of course, I mentioned it before, we have a new voting platform. The old one was built through the old website and kept breaking, and the Sounders said, can't have that anymore. So we got a new amazing website where the voting's pretty easy and simple. It's eballot.com, all these other slashes. So we won't worry about telling you what that is here, but you can find it on the Sounders website if you look under Alliance Council or going to our website. So definitely, if you want to join, you can nominate yourself there, and then that's where you send people to vote. All right. So, fan-funded fields. This is something that all of you did. The Alliance Council were your champions on it, but we worked with Ashley and the Rave Foundation to make sure that we could have a field. As we know, they're doing 26 fields by 2026, and now it's 26 more fields after the amazing Rave Gala that was here. That's a true impact in the community, where you're seeing these fields go out into communities that need them. And it's just amazing work that they're doing. And the gala was so wonderful. It was the best gala we've ever had. Thank you, Ashley, and all of your people for putting that together. So the fan-funded field will be coming in September 2024 near Sylvester Middle School in Burien. So you'll be able to go out and see the actual field that all of you made happen with your money. So thank you for that. That's so amazing. All right, future projects. This is what we're going to be doing in the near and far future. 2025 jerseys. We already have seen what's coming, and we're really excited about it. But as you saw this year, there were some retro kits that came out, and we're working with the front office to really push the league to see if we can make that happen for us. So hopefully that happens. But also we're going to continue to help design future jerseys, not design, wrong word, excuse me, as I said before, give ideas and input on the jerseys. You don't want me designing, I'm terrible at graphic design, so that would be awful. As I mentioned before also, 26 more fields by 2026. This is incredible, and we support the Rave Foundation however we can in the Alliance Council, and we're going to continue to do that. So thank you for all of you that have donated to Rave and continue to donate to Rave, and I hope if you haven't, you'll check out the Rave Foundation. Ashley will be up here later, so she can tell you more about that. Finally, we have two big events coming to Seattle. Well, not necessarily to Seattle. 2026 FIFA World Cup is coming to Seattle. 2025 FIFA Club World Cup we're playing in. So those are both going to be in the United States, and of course, we're saying, hey, front office, how can you let us in on that? How can you let season ticket holders be a part of that? We don't know if that's going to happen. It's controlled by FIFA. But we're still making sure that they do their due diligence, and you know what? They were going to do it anyways because they know how important it is for the fans to be involved with stuff like this. So we hope that something will come from that. You never know. It's up to FIFA. But either way, we're really excited to have that here, and we hope that you'll support our Sounders wherever they're playing. And the FIFA World Cup, of course, is going to be amazing. So I think we also have boring stuff coming up, like we have another constitutional review. If that's not your thing, I get it. But as a lawyer, I love being able to sit down and take jigsaw puzzles and put it together. I'm that boring guy. So that's the gist of what we have coming. And we want to know what you want us to work on, though, too. So don't hesitate to reach out to us, whether you see us walking around the stadium or you want to message us on Twitter or email us, whatever it is, we will be in touch because we're here to represent you. And we're here as the body of people who make sure your voices are heard. So thank you, everybody, for that. All right. Let me look at my notes here. Looks like we're going to have the first group session coming up. And this is an exciting, I mean, they're all exciting, don't get me wrong, but I'm excited for this one. It is a business update on the vision and growth and why. It's a conversation with majority owner Adrian Hanauer. We'll get everyone sitting here. President of Business Operations Hugh Weber. And for a lot of people, this will be introducing you to Courtney, but Chief Revenue Officer Courtney Carter.
Cameron, amazing opening comments. I did notice you said we have a bunch of boring stuff coming up right before you introduced us. So
no, that wasn't the Alliance Council.
Oh, okay, all right.
We have boring constitutional changes and stuff like that to make. Not anything you talk about will be boring.
So we'll make a few comments, try and get to questions. Thank you all for being here. The other thing you mentioned was negativity when we're losing. I don't think we'd notice that. Like, is that really true? And if it makes you feel any better, you mentioned that Alliance Council has one very small voice in the jersey design construction. Taylor and the team don't let me have any voice. So
that is true.
Yeah.
So small is bigger than zero.
We're proud of our voice.
Yeah. So look, I again, thank you all for being here. Amazing. This is a work in progress. We wanted to work with Alliance Council, find a way to make this annual business meeting a bigger piece of the democracy in sport commitment, try and involve more of our fan base. This may be the right forum, the right venue, the right solution, but for sure, one thing that'll happen is we'll debrief and figure out whether this is the best way to do it, or we should evolve it going forward. And again, your voices through Alliance Council count for a lot in that decision making. I did speak to Drew Carey this past weekend, or this past week, and again, many of you know Drew was instrumental in sort of the beginning piece of democracy in sport. When he joined as an owner back in 2007, he wanted two things. He wanted a band, and he wanted democracy in sport. Happily, both those things still exist. Again, working our way through it, always trying to evolve, make it a better process. We have a lot to celebrate in the past 50 years and what lies ahead. So happy about this facility, Providence Swedish Performance Center and Clubhouse. I can't overstate how important this has become in a very short period of time to the core of our existence here for the first team, Defiance, Academy, business. Throwing events like this, our fans, if those of you who have not been out to come to training and enjoy those events that we do, please sign up. It's awesome. I see people on the deck outside our little workspace on those days, and it's great to see people enjoying training, interacting with our players. Again, Cameron mentioned it, but the Eternal Sounders Circle of Legends. Super proud to have worked with Alliance Council on that. I'm going rogue a little bit here and sort of made an executive decision a while back. Some people in the club know this, but sort of breaking news that atrium area behind you here will ultimately become what we're going to call Legends Hall, and that will become a very physical manifestation of the legends, the history of our club. So over time, that will evolve. There's a mural, a 65-foot mural that was recently painted that is starting to speak to what that room will become. But again, visit here often and you'll see that evolve and begin to represent those stories, both for the Sounders and for the Reign. The other thing to be excited about this year is we welcomed the Reign into the broader family. Finally, maybe a few years too late, but it's been awesome getting to work with Leslie and Laura and the players and the staff there, begin to find our way. We've just, cracked the tip of the iceberg in terms of, providing opportunities for the Reign fans to become Sounder fans to become Reign fans, how we interact together as fan bases, as teams, how we make 1 and 1 equal 3. So super excited about that. Cameron mentioned the Rave Gala. Again, a fantastic event, raised a lot of money for the Rave Foundation that helps feed the work that we want to do in the community. As Cameron mentioned, we initially had a goal of 26 fields by 2026. 26 more now. Ashley's got her work cut out for her, but we've got a good head start with over $1 million raised last Thursday for the gala. I'd be remiss if I didn't end my comments with a few words about the team. Obviously, it was a slow start, but it's been a, oh, there you go. There's photos of the Rave Gala. Thank you. It was a slow start, but really proud of the way the locker room, the team stuck together, believed in each other. I know you had belief also. I think it's fair to, question when the results aren't coming. Is it really going to turn? But again, the last 20 games, I think we're 12, 3 and 5, 13, 3 and 4, something. Am I in the ballpark? Yeah. A lot more wins than losses. So it's been a great run. Brian says it, I'll repeat it. I think there's more and better soccer in this group. Nice to see Pedro, starting to get on the field. But again, he is in very, very early preseason form, understandably. He needs games and minutes. And I know Craig will talk a little bit more about soccer. And then again, next year, Club World Cup, massive event. Cameron, thank you for not over-promising, but we are, until the venues for Club World Cup are announced, we're going to fight like crazy for our fans and try to make sure that we insert ourselves into that Club World Cup in as large a way as we can. I think I'm trying to say something meaningful without saying anything, but thank you for reading between the lines. And then super obviously the giant bogey out there, 2026 Men's World Cup. I know Peter Tamazawa, who's running the local organizing committee, is here. And massive work ahead for he and everyone involved. But obviously just another opportunity to showcase soccer in our market and our beautiful city, our beautiful region, our beautiful state. So with that, I've probably used up all of the time for opening remarks.
For all three?
Yeah, for all three.
Thank you.
Hugh, go ahead, and then I know Hugh will introduce Courtney more formally.
Thank you, Adrian. First off, thank you all for being here. Feel super grateful to be part of an organization that has this level of engagement and democracy and input from those that live and breathe our brand every day. I'm going to talk a little bit about some of the initiatives you might have been hearing about, some things that are outside of maybe what you would think of being soccer, things like the development of this campus and what that could mean in terms of developing community and fan experience at even potentially a stadium maybe somewhere different than we're playing now. Talking about, you probably have heard us talk about things like music venues and this idea that we're more than just potentially engaging with our soccer fans. Our mission has not changed. First and foremost, our job is to win championships and cups and have impact on our community, period, right? Those things that thank you, right? Our focus has not wavered. Those things we talk about, though, are the fuel that builds the machine that keeps things going. I would think 17 years ago or so when Adrian, was able to lead the franchise into MLS era, it was a different world. It's been an evolving world, and if you looked around the room of owners at that time, there were people who measured their wealth in millions, not billions. Well, the world has changed, right? In order for us to keep competitive and to continue to be at the top and compete, to recruit and develop, we need resources to do it. And that's what we've been hyper-focused on. And when you hear us talk about these other things, I want to make sure it's abundantly clear it's not in lieu of the things that make this club so special. It's to fuel them and make them bigger. Part of that is redefining our ambition in every level. And some of that is on match day, and some of it is how we see our club, not just in the MLS ecosystem, but in the global soccer system. This facility is a reflection of that. Future-proofing of how we can recruit and develop the athletes that will be part of this franchise for the next 20 years. This was a big investment by the ownership group, but more importantly, it was an investment for you, the fans, and we want this campus to be open and engaged, and we will continue to solicit your input to see what it can become, but the possibilities are endless. I would say that one of the other benefits of having these types of aspirations is that not only do we have different types of dialogue and conversations with potential community partners and partners, but we're also able to recruit extraordinary professionals to come be a part of this movement. And that leads me to Courtney Carter. It took me 9 months to recruit her here. It either makes me a really bad recruiter or she's a really good get, and I would tell you she's a really great get. We're doing something special here, and I'll leave it to her to talk about it. It's a reason I'm here. I moved back home to Seattle, it was awesome, but I saw what Adrian's vision was, and I saw the opportunity and possibility of what and how special this moment was for this franchise. And again, we have another, convert here. I'm going to hand it over to her to talk about her role and what she's doing and how it actually works across the different kind of initiatives we're doing. And again, we're super happy that she's here. Courtney Carter.
Goodness. Thank you, Hugh. Thank you, Adrian. I don't know how I'm going to follow that. And also, my face is way too large on the screen. Nice to officially meet everybody. Similar to Hugh, I'm from the Pacific Northwest. I have been in the larger part of New York and LA for the last 23 years in the intersection of sports and entertainment. And when I got the call, not gonna lie, wasn't the call I expected. But after I sat with you and with Adrian and the front office and the amazing people who have built around this community and the foundational community that is you all, it was very apparent that I didn't have a choice. That it was a part of my mission and my life, my career purpose is to be a part of organizations, clubs, companies that create real community with core values, right? And I think I've been around a lot of different sports organizations and entertainment organizations that are not driven by core values, and that's a differentiator here, and I'm really, really excited to take that out into the marketplace, not only just the local marketplace, but the national and global marketplace. I don't know how many people in this country actually know that the Sounders are the most winningest club in Major League Soccer. We have the most trophies, come on. We're going for more cups. We're still in the running for 3 this year, guys, and looking pretty dang good out there on the field. So I'm super honored to be trusted by everyone on the stage, the rest of the office, and all of you, to be a steward of that brand. And I'd also like to say that being someone from the Pacific Northwest, I think we kind of take this pride in being humble, right? And gritty, and it's part of our core values. But it's also time to be a little bit showy, right? It's time to tell the world just how frickin' great we are and how excellent we are. So I really, really am excited to do that with y'all, and hope that you share everything on your socials and you push everything out to your friends and your family, because it matters to have people invest in us from a corporate standpoint as well. It matters. So thank you for that, and I'm just ready to go. Cameron?
Oh, thank you. Ready.
Okay. Before it ends up on Twitter in some negative rat hole, the Pacific Northwest in this case refers to
Seattle. What did you want to say? What was I supposed to say?
Oh, I mean, where were you born and where did you grow up?
Okay, I think that's a good point. You can boo, that's okay.
Yeah,
That's okay.
That is the purpose of this,
Yeah.
is to boo.
I mean, here's the, boo me. We're ready. Get it out now. I'm from Portland, Oregon. Now or forever hold your peace.
Yeah.
No, but I say that to say, and thank you for bringing it up. I was raised on the fields in the I-5 corridor. This is my sport. This is a sport that I played. I was very, very lucky to be coached and developed by the late, great Clive Charles. Regardless of what city he's from, let's give him his thank you. And then at Oregon State. And so just so those who may not have known me, I was raised out there on these pitches. They weren't as great as they are now. But it means a lot to me. This isn't just a job. This is part of my entire being. And it's fun to be back here and doing it with everybody on the stage and everyone in the office and every single one of you. So thank you.
And Adrian, I'd say she left Portland over 20 years ago. She got wisdom and came to Seattle.
It's true. It's true.
All right, we have some questions that have come in, and if you have questions for anyone up here or future panels, once again, Stacy with her hands up there, you can speak to her, and she has note cards, and you can write down your questions. Okay. I'm going to start off with a tough one. With the new level of spending in transfer fees from clubs across the league, how do the Sounders management and ownership plan on addressing the talent gap that can be created in the MLS? How are we going to stay at the top and continue to try and win championships?
I'll take it, but I want to leave my friend Craig some opportunity here. You know, and I know this isn't popular when I say it, but our goal has never been to win the transfer window competition. Our goal is to win championships, period, full stop. and to do it with the right combination of players and the right efficiency and spend in the right areas, the right amount at the right times to continue to challenge for championships. So there is, there is a reality to where the league is going, and we need to be super smart about it and understand it and have. Again, one of the things I always say about winning championships is the players would probably disagree. The players are a big percentage of it, but there are a whole bunch of other things that add up to the rest of the percentage of it. It's great coaching, it's great infrastructure, it's great medical support, it's great sports science, getting players back on the field. It's great scouting on the way in. It's great culture. It's having players that want to be working with each other, for each other. It's grit and determination, some of the characteristics that this club has always had. So absolutely, having mixing in those intangibles, some of the quality that you see on our field and others is a piece of it, but it is more than just how much money you spend. The other piece to this that again I was going to be brief and let Craig handle this, but you'll notice a bunch of young players that have come through our youth system on the field, getting minutes, having massive influence, winning games for us. That's another piece to the puzzle. And that is an extraordinary amount of resources going into that that develops some of those players. So it's this balance, but it is, Cameron, something we need to continue to pay attention to. As Hugh said, there's a whole new breed of billionaire owners. That doesn't always mean they make smart decisions. So we need to use our resources, generate more resources, and deploy them in a really smart way.
But I mean, Paul Rothrock and Jordan Morris, guys, come on. Last night was fun.
Another great question here from the audience is, do you anticipate a possible joint Reign Sounders season ticket offering at any point for our fabulous teams?
We will give the fans what they want, for sure. So yes, I think we are thinking about how these fan bases might work together. We started from and have started from a position of these are two unique communities in the soccer world. These are two unique brands. We don't want to homogenize the world and make Sounders fans kind of a little bit less of Sounders and Reign a little bit less of Reign. And so we are finding our way through that. But we know these two circles of fandoms, there is a lot of crossover, and we will have the products to be able to, again, create that fan experience for you that makes it easier and allows you to use your resources across both. But that's not for everyone, and we're not approaching it that way. So for those of you that might have been thinking as a Reign fan, are they just going to make all of us Sounders fans and vice versa? That's not how we're approaching it, and we're going to see where this evolves.
Yeah. I'd also like to add, thank you. I heard that big cheer. And that's when we mentioned the Reign, when Adrian mentioned that, that's really encouraging. And I know that this is that core group of believers and supporters. Also on August 25th, we're retiring Megan Rapinoe's jersey, which, yes, she deserves that. It's a big moment for not only the Reign, but also this city. To really be on this global stage. It's on ESPN, et cetera, et cetera. Get your tickets now. Okay, I'm done.
But sorry, one last thing. You will notice on that mural, Rapinoe 15 on there. And that was very intentional. And if you make your way to the second level business offices, there are Reign shields with Sounder shields. Again, we are trying to become one family, and we're 7 weeks in to actually starting that integration and lots more to come.
Obviously, with building this facility and then buying the rain, there's a lot of questions around, huge output of money. What is the financial health of the club right now, and does that have any impact at all, any of this, on the ability to sign players in any way?
You want to take it or you want to take it? You go first.
Yeah, I mean, I would just say...
You write the checks, so it's fine. You can go first.
These clubs are owned separately. They're separate entities that are being merged into the operational piece of it. There is zero impact from one to the other, and the financial health of the club is good.
And I was going to say, this is an investment in both our community, in the sport, and we look around and you say, wow, this is a really nice, shiny place. This is amazing. And yes, it was an investment. As I said earlier, we have to build not for today, but for what the future looks like. And what you're seeing with the Reign is a collaboration about how these brands might work together and how we might work within this community for a future state and how we continue to grow our fan base.
Adrian, I know one of your goals pre-COVID was to fill the whole stadium, and then obviously the financials changed after COVID. A lot of fans have questions about the 300 level and will it ever open again, and also how your vision has changed moving forward from that original one.
Why don't you start?
I'm going to start because, although it was addressed to Adrian, so the question was, and the way you framed it sounded to me that it was like, okay, well, what are the economics behind opening it upstairs and why don't we do it more often? And it actually is not an economic issue. It's more of a protection of your value as a season ticket member, right? And so if at any moment, at the highest demand match, at the highest demand moment, I, off the street with zero loyalty to the club, can walk up and buy a ticket and get in and have the same rights that you do as a member who has made a year-long commitment, it doesn't make sense to me, right? And so by actually saying only for incredibly high demand moments will we open up the upper, but until then, until we have that where we have value of your tickets, right? On the secondary market, let's be honest, buying through us is not the only place you can buy tickets. You can buy them from fans that turn them in, you can do whatever. And so we are continually looking at the value of those tickets and what they are for each match. And our primary guiding principle is, are we protecting our season ticket members? Period. We never price anything below what you guys pay, whether it's a group or anything else. So what is informing that decision to not go upstairs is that until we get to a point, honestly, that we have 50,000 people who want to buy season tickets, I don't know that there'll be moments that we'll do it and we'll make big events out of it. But I just don't know that the market at this point, until we get there, is fair to our season ticket members to do it. I don't know if you want to add on to that.
At Starfire, it was a largely open facility where people could come to practice whenever they wanted. I know that's changed a little bit with people being invited by their ticket reps in groups throughout this season. Is there any plans to open up practice like it was before, or is there different security concerns and other things like that we have at this facility?
Right, so this was a really interesting conversation before we opened the facility, because this is a core ethos of who we are as a club. We are open, transparent, we want to have engagement. The practical of having Starfire open, what actually happened was that very few people came, right? There were a handful of people who would show up. So I think the idea of it was better than the actual execution of it. And so we got really intentional and said, instead of it being just open to anybody at any time, can we create a special experience by invitation for those that, again, we can over-deliver on what they get when they actually come, right? They get a little bit more high touch with the coaches, more touch with the players, and we can actually curate that experience. That's where we're starting. If we get to a point where we have people standing outside and wanting to bang in, of course we'll open the doors. But we have found, at least in the first 3 months of doing this, the engagement has been super high. The fans that have shown up have been super satisfied, and the experience has been really good. And I don't know that anybody ever said that at Starfire, right? It was kind of like, I can go if I want, but I don't really see a need to, right? So that's the path that we're on, and until, again, that changes, or if you have input that says we should be thinking about something else, we're totally open. But we are mindful about the way we're approaching it.
Okay. Well, thank you so much.
We're done.
Yeah.
That it?
Thank you all.
Thank you, guys. Go
Thank you.
Sounders.
Oh, yeah. Thank you. Yeah.
Thanks.
How many people is this their first time here at the facility? That's awesome. So excited you all could come out. Yeah. Yeah. Are you up next, Greg? Oh, yeah. This is going to be the good one. Why didn't we sign Messi? No,
Where we're starting?
everybody, welcome General Manager Craig Weibel to the stage.
So they told me to start with an update on how our season's gone. I'm going to assume I'm in a room where you guys know. We decided not to score goals for the first couple months, which wasn't for dramatic effect, I promise. We had to sit down and remind some of the guys, like, it's more fun for everyone when we score, including them. And that's been over the last 20 games across 3 competitions. So Leagues Cup, Open Cup, and MLS. We're 12 wins, 3 losses, 5 draws in our last 20. That has very little to do with me, but I respect that you're applauding for them. It's gone a little bit as I expected. Unfortunately, the first 10 games didn't. I know I've talked to some of you. Those first 10 games were Interstream. We outshot Austin, I think it was 22-4. We tied 0-0. We went to Dallas, outshot them. We'll name players. It is what it is. Jordan misses a dunk header. Christian misses a dunk header. Raul misses an opportunity in that Dallas game. Also, Sebastian Lletget for the bad guys missed one good opportunity. But as you go through those games, there were opportunities to win. There were tactical reasons to believe in what we were doing. We were creating opportunities. We were limiting opportunities. Currently, 29 goals against is top 3 in the league. That's where we sit defensively. So I think Columbus and Charlotte, I think those are the 2 teams that have conceded less goals. Top 3 in league. Goal production, because we took a month and a half or 2 months off, we're at 34 goals in the MLS regular season, obviously excluding 2 last night and several in the Open Cup. But that puts us in the bottom third in terms of finishing. That's when you get real geeky for those of you that are stat hounds, and you go look at expected goals, this really, really interesting and frankly confusing statistic that takes every shot that goes and blah, 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 blah. What it means is, when you look at the number, what it tells you is whether we're getting shots, whether we're getting good shots, good opportunities. And that is something we've been producing all year. So we're finally starting to reward ourselves over the last 20 games, hopefully for the next 20 games, because if I do my math correctly, that would be 1, maybe 2 on our way to a 3rd trophy. So alive in every competition, alive in many aspects of what we're doing. I think the coaches have done a good job keeping the guys focused. I think we've obviously seen some shift in historically some players that play every game 90 minutes. We're starting to see the coaches use more players. We're starting to see the staff sub more frequently. And we're starting to see a lot more of our young guys get on the field and frankly do quite well. There was a point last night where we had 6 homegrown players on the field from our academy. Yeah. more important than that is we won. So it's not just playing academy players. It's not just playing young players. It's playing any player that helps us win. Because ultimately, that's the standard the team and the club have set. That's the standard you guys hold us to. And the pursuing trophies is frankly the only thing that you guys accept. So that's kind of the standard we look at. Wins matter. There's a lot of other things that roll into this, but wins matter. And that's not lost on myself. It's not lost on the staff. It's not lost on the players. I like to call it healthy pressure, because if I don't call it that, it's still pressure, and it's not great, right? So that healthy pressure is wonderful. We invite it, and you shouldn't have been happy with the way the season started. There weren't many of us that were. We weren't celebrating here daily and high-fiving either. So trust that we're feeling roughly the same way you guys are at any given point of the season. The most fun part for me is trying to satisfy your questions with hopefully informative answers. But if you hear me start to tap dance, it's because I'm tap dancing. I'll share as much as I can on any question that's been asked, though, and I'll walk it right up to where I can't quite jump off the cliff, but I'll share everything I can share with you. So if you guys are good with it, I say we get into it. Okay.
Start off with the topical one right away. How's Raul doing after that hard hit last night?
Yeah, he's not great. But he's doing all right. He walked in this morning. He'll get treatment. On every injury, as you would imagine, we do MRIs, we do X-rays, we do everything just to make sure. So we'll go through that same process we do on every single injury. He came in today. According to him, he's fine. So there you have it. That's high medical diagnosis from Raul.
So the MLS just announced some roster rule changes with DPs and the U22s. Yeah. Without getting too deep in the weeds, which is easy to do with MLS roster rules, maybe...
No, we're going into the weeds on this, man. We're getting deep.
What do you think... what route do you think the Sounders will take in terms of, since they have the options there, and maybe can you describe what those are with the 4 U22s versus 2 DPs?
Yeah.
And
so who believes they have a good understanding of the MLS salary cap? 0 hands. How about a mild understanding? Yeah, okay. I mean, that's where they keep most of us. So the rules in the past were 3 designated players. If one of your 3 designated players was under 23 or TAMable, which is this other mechanism we have, which is the max salary plus $1 million. Right now that currently sits at $1.68750. A player that was on that number or less could be counted as a TAMable DP, which then allowed you to go get 3 U22s. Still with me? I'm not trying to lose you, but good luck. This is actually a simplification of the rules. So what the league finally, because I'm a GM, I can say that. We just did 3 DPs and 3 U22s now. That's the rule. So any team can sign them in any combination. You get these 3 designated players and 3 U22s. If you're a club, so getting into the Sounders approach, if you're a club that cares about developing your own players, that actually invests in your academy and your people and your players equally, you probably have some really good young players, which it turns out we do. So retaining some of our players and labeling them in this U22 spot is going to be essential over the next couple years. From a salary cap standpoint, an under 22 player counts against your cap $200,000 against your cap, regardless of the salary. So you can take the real number and attribute that to our ownership saying, yes, we will spend this money. When it comes back to my office and the cap, It's 200 against our cap. So the U22s are extremely valuable on your roster. They're essential to get correct. Because if you get value out of those 3 players, it's a total of 600. If you remember what I just said about the max salary being more than 600, you're getting performance out of 3 players instead of just 1 for that same number. So that's that's the basic rule change that they did. Where this really impacts is there are clubs that are going to chase, well, I'll be careful. There are clubs that are going to spend a lot of money chasing trophies that we own, trophies that are in this building, and trophies that we're the only one that have. We own a trophy no one else in America does. We own the most trophies since 2009. Yeah, it's pretty awesome. Without getting too far off, most trophies since 2009, most wins, most points, most playoff wins. You get the drift. There are going to be teams that chase with a lot of money on these 3 DP spots and these 3 U22 spots. When I see a team that has gone out and spent a ton of money and has 3 young players that are better than our 3, considerably better, exponentially better, I might feel different. I think we are years away from that. With the way our academy and our development system works, the players we're producing, it's not to say we can't go out and try and spend tens of millions of dollars on players, but I think our young players are pretty darn good. So we will focus on the top 3 designated player roster spots. And look, this year we have 2 of those 2 players that are designated players are going out of contract. It's not a big secret. You've read about it. Raul Ruiz and Albert Rusnik. So we have some decisions to make in terms of DPs. So strategy for the Sounders, that's going to be where we focus most of our energy, because right now we've got a spoil of riches in terms of players under 22 that we think show a lot of promise.
These are 2 different questions that I'm going to throw into one, because I think they're related. Are we going to get a new player during this summer transfer window, and are we able to explore loans as an option?
I'll start with the second one. So loans, you can always explore loans. Loans are actually beneficial in terms of getting it's a tryout, right? And we can call it a loan, we can call it a lot of different things. It's an extended tryout. And that means we have the power to make the decision in the end. They're really, really hard to execute. The better the player, the more expensive the cost at the end of that loan will be. For instance, a player that we might be able to purchase for $1 million, if the club is willing to loan them to us for 6 months and give us that window, there's a risk of injury, there's a risk of performance, there's a risk of a lot of things. So instead of buying the player for $1 million, they might say, you can have them on loan, but the purchase price is now $2 million. And you've got to execute it in January. So the hard part on a loan is figuring out the back end details. They read really well, they look really good. Most of them are very expensive on the back end. And if you look across MLS history, for any player that's come on loan and then is retained, there's a pretty significant purchase price on that. A lot of times, the way we'll set it up in MLS is we'll take a player on loan now because our fiscal budget doesn't reset till January. So there's an advantage to us to push the payment to January. Most of the time you're seeing a loan, that's the reason. Because 85% of the world is working on July to July soccer window, financial window in terms of the way they do their player spend. So loans are advantageous, but they are, in general, pretty expensive. The more important question is, are we going to get a player this summer? And the truth is, maybe. So for those of you that have read about it, we went after Asano, who he went out of contract at Bochum in the Bundesliga. Japanese national team player, can play across wings and up top. He decided in the end to stay in Europe, roughly the same money, so an absolute player decision. Then we went after Dario Spikic from Dinamo Zagreb, a really, really talented player, 25 years old, I'll repeat ages because those are very important to what we're building and what we're trying to do over the next couple of years. Asano 29, Dario Spikic 25. And we're trying to attract players like those right now. It's a really difficult task. In the end, without oversharing, I think Dario made a very personal decision. I think he's still pursuing success in Europe. I think there's still, that's in his heart. And so some of the players we're targeting are really, really challenging players to convince to come still. They're at ages where they have choices. We're not interested in bringing someone over for the end. That's not in our bloodline anymore. That's just not something we're gonna do moving forward unless it's an absolute slam dunk. And age is just a number, I get it. Some players play till 38, 40, some don't play as long. But we're taking in all accounts of statistics. We're analyzing how their metrics are. All these, again, really cool, nerdy soccer things that we get to do, accelerations, decelerations, speed, in accordance to who they play for. We also do, just so you know, we take into account Dario, for instance, played for the best team in Croatia. They have possession 70% of the time. So you also have to weigh competition. Sometimes numbers are skewed on how much you have the ball. So we have a healthy marriage in the building, 51% subjective, 49% objective, because we have to know if they fit. That's a personality thing. You don't measure that with numbers. We have to know their work rate. Are they two-way players? Because one thing I hear loud and clear and have heard over the last several weeks is we maybe have one or two players that are frustrating our fans because they're not playing on both sides of the ball. So those are things we take into account as well. So in terms of bringing a player in, we will bring a player in if they are going to help us. If you would have asked me 8 weeks ago, I would have told you Asano, Spikic make a lot of sense. We need more depth on the wing. We need more choices for our coaches on the wing. In that same 8 weeks, Paul Rothrock has frankly stepped up. Yeah, deserved, yeah. I mean, credit to Paul, because he's made that a more challenging endeavor for the front office. Now when we're looking, we're going, well, yeah, we might not look as smart as we would have 8, 9, 10 weeks ago. So all these things play into it. Will we sign a player? Most likely we will sign a player. How does that player fit in with the budget we have? You guys all saw we traded Javier Arriaga earlier this year. That's the budget we have. So you're not talking millions. You're talking a lot of money, hundreds of thousands. Let's not ignore that. On the world scale, that's not millions. And that there's a lot of money flying around the world. So we're trying to attract a player that fits. In the front office opinion, this decision, when we make it, will most likely be a future decision, a future roster building decision, because we don't have the financial freedom in this moment to go out and get a drop dead starter. That's the brutal reality of what's called a salary cap, which most places in the world they don't have. But we will look to add. We will continue to look to add. But players like Paul, credit to him, he's not making it easy, and that's what a player is supposed to do.
Can you talk about how a transfer fee plays into the salary cap as well?
Yeah, so transfer fee. When you see transfer fees in MLS, we have to amortize transfer fees. Those count against the cap hit. So simple math. We go pay $1 million for a player. We sign that player to $300,000 a year. The $1 million, and we give that player a 3-year contract. So it's the guaranteed years on the contract. So if you give him a 3-year contract, it's $333,000 in addition to what you're paying him. If it's a 2-year contract, it's $500,000 added on. So if you buy a player for $1 million, you're paying him $300,000, and you give him a 2-year guarantee, that player hits your cap at $800,000 for those 2 years. A 3-year contract, they hit at $633. Sorry, my math was wrong. $633. So transfer fees absolutely count against your cap. You guys, when you go online, you'll see a lot of numbers. There's a lot of fun places to look up salaries, and they're mostly accurate, but it doesn't always account for the total cap hit. So guaranteed compensation is different than how a player hits our cap. And I'm happy to share as much as possible and kind of do the, since Drew Carey's one of our owners, I can do the prices right, like higher or lower if you guess cap hits, but we probably won't have a bell when you get right to it.
Can you talk about Georgie and what he's done for Defiance and future with the club?
Yeah, so Georgie Manungo, for those of you that don't know, extremely dynamic attacking player for the Defiance. Really promising profile-wise, speed, loves taking players one-on-one. For those of you that watched the game last night, when he gets the ball, he gets his head up, he likes to isolate defenders, he goes at them. A little bit like Pedro was doing last night. And we have a couple other guys on our team that do that. That's a unique quality. As simple as it sounds, a lot of players like to be pretty nowadays, and they want to pass, and they want to, you know, sometimes if you're faster than the defender, like as an ex-slow defender, I promise, just U12, man, just kick it and run by me. So Georgie has a massive skill set. The final pieces we're trying to develop, two things. Number one, the final pass, and the second one is goal danger, right? So he creates opportunities game after game. Anyone watch the Open Cup games, the first two Open Cup games? Created a ton of dangerous moments that didn't necessarily turn into dangerous chances. That's what needs to translate. And we've met with him. We show him video. We actually do individual work. He knows this. He's got it laid out. There's a blueprint. He knows when the blueprint hits. He is in our plans in terms of future first team. It's now up to him. He has all that information. We're very open in the soccer. The technical side of this is we don't do a lot of secrets. A player needs to know what they need to know. And they need to know what it takes to get to the first team, because contrary to anyone's belief, no one's playing for the Defiance that doesn't want to be on the Sounders, right? So we lay it out, and then we work with them, and then we let them finish it off. So those are the pieces we're looking for from Georgie when you watch him. Like, that's what we're looking for, because creating those moments is not an issue. Is that it? That was it?
One more.
That's it?
One more.
No, that's...
One more. As general manager, how do you ensure that players are happy and want to be here?
Oh, boy. Well, so is it safe to assume that you guys are always happy? First 10 weeks, yeah, super happy. Results have a lot to do with happiness. It's a weird thing in sports, right? Winning doesn't solve everything, it solves a lot of things. But playing time solves even more. There's only a couple things you can take away from a professional soccer player to make them pay attention. The number one thing you can take away from a pro is the game. That makes them pay attention the most. The next thing, because this is work, is money, right? But it's in that order. The game is always going to dictate the most happiness, because these guys show up to work 5-6 days a week, and it's not because they want to watch the game, as you would imagine. That's what you guys want to do. So happiness is an ongoing thing. It's a 10-month season in MLS. It's really difficult for these guys to maintain energy, optimism throughout the whole year. The staff, the players, the front office, we all go through these cycles throughout this elongated season with the amount of travel. The schedule stacks up. I think it was 7 games in the last 3.5 weeks. It's basically you play, you rest, and you try to see your family. And every once in a while, you reintroduce yourself to your loved ones. And so all those things play in. So we have nutrition as a main goal. We have rest and relaxation. We have our sports performance. We've had sports mental skills coaches over the years that are here to help. That is not to be confused with mental health. Mental skills for performance is not to be confused with the other things we provide in terms of mental health, which goes back to some of our wonderful sponsors. So all of these things add up. I can tell you right now, it's impossible in a professional environment for everyone to show up happy every day, even the guys that are playing the most. Even when we're on a 20 game heater like we are, you know, we still have a good off day every once in a while. There's still an animated conversation, sometimes between players and coaches, sometimes between GMs and coaches, not between GMs and players. That comes at the end of the year when we talk about contracts. That's a couple months off for me. That's it?
Yeah.
All right, if you see me around, ask me questions.
Here. We have Taylor Graham, Chief Marketing Officer. You want this mic?
That one?
Yeah, any of those. And we're bringing back President of Business Operations, Hugh Weber. He doesn't want to sit next to me anymore.
Scattered applause.
I've been told I have
Sorry.
5 to 10 minutes to talk about fan growth and entertainment. This is a conversation I could talk for hours and hours and hours. Soundwave's going to come perform. If anyone needs to stand up and wants to go get an autograph from Raul instead of listen to Taylor, please do. No offense. Totally fine. For those that have heard me speak, apologies because you've kind of seen me play this card before. But one of the things we're going to talk about is the human connection that's a part of this club. And so my ask of you right now is to turn to somebody next to you or behind you that you don't know and introduce yourself, please, just for 10 seconds, very, very quickly. Thank you. I appreciate that. I'm doing this for a couple reasons. This is way more fun. It's way more fun to talk to the person next to you. I asked you to do that for a couple reasons. Number one, we are all Sounders, and I am a Sounder first and foremost. I'm a soccer fan second. I work for the marketing team in the Sounders third, but this thing is different and we all have our own journey here, and my journey is different than your journey, but this is a place where everyone has a role and should belong, and that's one of the things that we heard very loud and clear during our fan focus groups over the course of the last couple months. In the next 5 to 10 minutes, I'm going to talk to you about a handful of things. Number one, what did we hear loud and clear from you and from other Alliance members during these tens of hours of deep focus groups with many of you that are in the room, and then following up with a lot of you from a survey? I want you guys to hear the themes that we as a club have heard, and now our commitment to you is that we are working on addressing these and improving on these and listening to you. Some of these things, hopefully you've seen in real time in the matter of weeks. Some of these are work streams that take quarters and years, but that's our commitment to you is we heard you loud and clear, and so something that you told us, I want you to be able to hear back from me. I want to talk a little bit about Apple, because it's important that our matches are accessible and viewed by as many Sounders fans and soccer fans as possible. So I want to give you a quick update in terms of where we are at year and a half of a 10-year run. I want to remind you of some of the engagement projects that have been discussed, and I want to talk a little bit about growth and what growth looks like and some growth initiatives that we've taken on. So I've got some notes to keep me on point real quick. But what you're looking at are the narratives and the high-level themes that we heard from you in real time. Connection and community. It matters. First impressions matter. And when we talk to our fans about their first experience with this club, a lot of those first experiences were the first time that they walked through the concourse and they walked into the field, whether it was last year or whether it was in 2009, and that feeling that you got when you walked in and you belonged and you were part of something big and special, those first impressions matter. We know that anywhere between 10 and 20% of fans every single night are having that same experience. They are having a first impression to come into Lumen for the first time. So whether it was last night or whether it's our LAFC match last weekend, 10 to 20% there's an opportunity to be able to deliver an amazing experience, and that's something that we're committed to doing. Number two is that community means a lot of different things to a lot of different people. There's a lot of work we're doing with Ray Foundation. There's a lot of work we're doing in social impact. But community is more than that. It's the feeling that you have when you're in your section and you look around the section and you see life stages changing from the people that you're sitting next to. It's the relationship you have with the guest services. It's more than a community initiative. It is a feeling of belonging that's part of being a part of something on match day that's important. That was takeaway number one. Takeaway number two, match day experience and the importance of it. Your match day experience is impacted when there are empty seats around you. We heard you loud and clear in terms of that feeling and that first impression when you're in a packed section as opposed to when you're not. Match day experience, we've heard words like almost. We've heard things like stagnant. These are very important reminders for the identity of this club, and this club has always been a club with an amazing energy, an amazing match day, and with a packed house, and these are things that we are committed to over time. We heard that performance on the field matters, and we heard that playing exciting soccer matters in this process. I would like to believe that these fan focus groups, which happened in the end of May and early June, were the impetus for the team going on a six-match unbeaten streak. But we heard you loud and clear, and you heard Craig talking about how important the soccer side is. We heard that there's an inconsistency in the experience, sometimes related to things like the food and beverage, and that the price points are sometimes inaccessible. And so over the course of weeks from that, we doubled our offerings for value menu. We've seen the sales of those offerings increase significantly over the last 5 home matches. These are changes that we are making in real time based on your feedback. And lastly, we heard, yes, I am a member, and yes, this thing is, I want value from, but I as a member am committed to sharing this experience with others. This idea of soccer for all and making sure that Sounders Match Day is approachable for everyone. That takes us into membership value. It's more than just tickets, it's perks and access. And we want more perks and access, which is one of the reasons why today is what it is, and the amount of opportunities you have to engage with the coaches, the Defiance, the general managers, the staff, anyone. Being face-to-face matters because perks and access matter. We heard that there's a lot of positivity with return ticket credit. We believe that return ticket credit and our membership is the most fan-friendly membership model in sport. The ability to return tickets, last minute when stuff comes up, which we know does. We know that those resources or those pools, those dollars, the ability to roll them over year to year is also really important. I haven't seen another sports team do it. We're proud to be able to deliver against that. MLS Season Pass, for those who are using it, it's got a great user, it's good production, easy to use, but we got work to do to make sure it's accessible to everyone. The theme of flexibility came up. Not only flexibility with your membership, but maybe there's more flexibility with products. This year is the last year we actually have a Flex member. So if you want to be part of this community and you still feel like you're a member and you want to be within the Alliance, but maybe coming to 12 or 13 or 14 matches isn't for you, now we have other products to be able to do it. This is year one of a Flex membership to be able to still have that access, to still feel like you belong, but have a product that is more customized for what your needs are. And lastly, we heard it'd be really awesome to be able to extend our payments over a longer period of time. Last Wednesday, there was an email that went out to you giving you sight lines that renewals is starting this week. And with that comes the addition of a 7-month payment plan instead of 6 that extends that payment process, which is one of the reasons why renewals are starting a little bit earlier, to give a longer ramp to be able to do that. This is feedback we heard the end of May and are excited to be able to roll out. Communication. Communication matters. Consistency of communication matters. And there was an inconsistency of what offers, what benefits, what face-to-face interactions with fans were available and when. Personalization matters. I expect my club to know me. I expect my club to know whether to send me a text message, whether to call me during the middle of the day or to never call me. But there's also the desire to have a single source of truth where I can get all of the information I need to be an effective member, but given to me at the right time, in the right place, through the right channel that makes sense to me. And the last thing I'm going to just dive into is the excellence piece. We are a club that aspires and is committed to competing for championships. We are a club that takes pride in the details. And when we fall short of that commitment, it's important that we acknowledge it. So 2 things I want to call out. Number 1, the season ticket member experience, the unboxing experience earlier this year, didn't hit our standards of excellence. We heard it was awesome to be able to have some customization, to be able to pick the thing that was right for me, a diversity of items, but the unboxing experience and the portal was a little clunky, and then therefore what I got wasn't up to par. We agree and we acknowledge it, and we will fix it. Number 1. And then number 2 is when we are charged for new competitions like Leagues Cup and we see a really big bill on our invoice, that is also not the pride of the details that we expect to deliver, and so we acknowledge it and we will be accountable and we will fix it and move on. I think the next slide, I want to talk to you a little bit about Apple real quick. And I want to talk to you about Apple because there is a direct correlation between the number of fans that watch matches and the number of fans that attend matches. And so we're a year and a half within the Apple process. The feedback has been positive, but we still have a lot of work to do. A couple things I just want to call out. Number 1, we're top 5 in local viewership across Major League Soccer, which we're really proud of. We're top 5 in terms of the engagement related to those viewers. And so when we measure engagement and growth, we're constantly measuring reach, but also engagement, the depth. How wide are we and how deep do we go? We are top 5 in reach, and we are top 5 engagement in terms of our matches being available for our fans within the state of Washington. That's number 1. Number 2 is the flexibility and customization related to be able to watch on any device in any city at any time has been really, really positive. The ability to be able to use the drop-down menu to select local English broadcast and listen to Danny Jackson is awesome. The ability to listen to our matches in Spanish language is important, and so that flexibility and customization is important. But we've got a lot of work to do because right now it feels more destination programming than something that people can discover. And so we have work to do on the education for fans that 12 to 14 of our matches every single year are free and accessible to anyone across the world. I'll say that again, over 100 countries, 0 barriers to entry, no subscription required. All you need to have is one of this, or a smart TV, or someone who has one of these and a smart TV. It actually is more accessible than the previous linear broadcasts that we had, which while there were 16 to 18 matches that were free to air on KCPQ, there was a really restricted geography in being able to do it. And so we have a lot of work to do to be able to educate the marketplace that Sounders matches are very, very accessible. We just need to get that information, and we're on the early stages of this. That's number 1. Last thing on the Apple front is we need your help getting our matches in bars and restaurants. We have tried to go out at scale and to communicate with bars and restaurants about what we will do to make sure our matches are available and accessible. It is really difficult. What we've discovered is that this is going to require hand-to-hand combat. It's going to require hand-to-hand combat from us, and my challenge and ask of you is if you have local watering holes or restaurants or bars that are not showing matches, please let us know, because we are resourcing those bars to overcome the investment, which is about $100 a year for all matches across Major League Soccer through tickets and experiences and promotions and access. And so to be able to do that is really, really important, so that someone who goes into a sports bar can see Sounders and watch Sounders and be a part of this. That's the Apple piece. Next slide real quick is the engagement. We highlighted some of the engagement initiatives that we've committed to. This space is really important to engagement, especially when we talk about player access and access to the club and being able to do that human to human, face to face. This is kind of like the big backyard barbecue that we're throwing for the first time when we moved into our house. And so we're excited to be able to do this and a lot of different events like this. Last week we hosted the Rave Gala. It raised $1.2 million, and we confirmed our commitment to double the number of fields that we will have in underserved communities by the 2026 World Cup. Those events couldn't happen in the past. Those are huge opportunities to get face-to-face with our key constituents. And from the engagement, last thing is we have a foundation of democracy in sport through the commitment started by Drew Carey. This is one of those annual commitments of face-to-face with our members to be able to hear what we're doing and how we're thinking and how we can be better. But there's always opportunities to layer on top, which is where the Circle of Legends came in for next year. Because for a club as rich and as historic as ours, there are players that are deserving of the highest accolade, and we need you to help us identify them and vote for them and celebrate them, but on the foundation of what this club was rooted on, which is team, which is why the 1974 team was inducted as the inaugural class within the Circle of Legends. I think the next picture shows that. I'm getting close on time, but I want to take one moment to talk about growth. Growth comes in a lot of different ways, but one key work stream that we have related to growth is how we're engaging with youth in particular. From a Sounders perspective, we define youth between the ages of 0 and 24. So there's a big spectrum. In 2024, our commitment centered on the ages of 5 to 12. Why did we do that? Because we know that the average age when a youth becomes a fan of a club is 7. And we know that by the age of 14, 50% of fandom is set. And so year one of this long-term growth strategy was focused on youth. And that was a launch of our kids club called Sammy Squad. We know that Sammy, as part of the brand evolution research, was very appealing for those younger audiences and even some older audiences who still think they are younger audiences. It is a free program. It's free because we think and we believe that accessibility to this club should not have financial barriers. It came with opportunities to join and be a part of this kids club, to get exclusive access to matches, and when you come, you get a free scarf in the process. I think we had over 2,000 applicants within the first 30 days, and that's the foundation from which we're going to grow. 97% of youth whose favorite sport is soccer play soccer. A lot of our opportunity to connect through younger generations, the next generation of Sounders players, the next generation of Sounders members, are through soccer players. I see a couple of them right here. You'll see a lot of work and a lot of color within the stadiums from commitments that the organization has made to try to connect with the youth soccer communities. You probably saw that last weekend against LAFC with a lot of soccer teams, and we're going to double down on those matches that are not at 7:30. And believe me, we've heard you loud and clear, and Major League Soccer has as well, is that there's some challenges associated with bringing families and younger kids to matches that start at 7:30. That is also something we've heard loud and clear. I believe, Cameron, that's my, I'm over time, but I'm glad to take some questions if anybody has anything related to
we got some questions
fans,
here.
fan growth, fan engagement.
And how much time do we have for questions? Because I know that people are probably a little bit itchy to get going. So we have 3 or 4?
Yeah.
We good? All right.
And some of these can be coordinated together, and some you addressed in your presentation. But this one specifically, I think, is top of mind, especially with our next home game being in the evening after a day Sounders game. I mean, Mariners game. What is the chance of coordinating game times with the Mariners so they don't start at the same time or have that overlap? I know pre-COVID there was a limit to the how many times that could happen, and it seems like that's not around anymore.
So on average, there are about 6 to 8 overlapping events between the Mariners and the Sounders each year. It's changed year over year. And believe me, we understand the impact it has on the fan experience, traffic, congestion, you name it. There's a lot of coordination that takes place between T-Mobile Park and Lumen for every event. We have fantastic relationships with the Mariners and are doing everything possible to make sure that the fan experience is less impacted as possible. That's very difficult to fully take away. There are no matches that start at the same time. The Mariners, in terms of the scheduling process, they go first, and a lot of their first pitches are now at 6:40. And so they've moved earlier, and now Sounders matches in each local market across the league start about 7:30. The hope is that Mariners fans could come in, Sounders fans could come in, and then both stadiums are releasing fans around the same time. It is a very difficult process to execute. The one thing I just want to, Cameron, we talk about this every single year, is there are so many challenging factors associated with scheduling between league rules, broadcast considerations. The one thing I do want to call out is the neighborhood impact to the stadium district and the CID, the Chinese International District. And while sometimes for fans it makes sense to be able to have one match, have all fans come in and all fans go out, and then a period of time in between, and then it happens again for both, that has challenges for those who live in those communities. And so part of this is working with the leagues and the teams and the stadiums, but a lot of this is working with the city of Seattle and the local communities that reside full-time in which the areas that we come maybe once every 2 weeks.
I think these are related and related to that question as well. What's being done to address the match attendance that has gone down over time? And then also, can you talk about the start times in terms of, a lot of people like the day games?
So I'm going to take the first stab at attendance. I'm going to start with an acknowledgement that we see what you see, right? That tickets may be sold, but people don't show up. I wish this was a simple answer of like, well, we'll just turn this little valve and everything will change. It is a combination of things that have gotten us to this point. And I will tell you, it's a priority, number one focus of the organization, the match day experience. What goes into that? We think of it as like, well, it's just the season ticket holders and the people who buy individual tickets. It's not. To orchestrate 33,000 people in the building, there's a bunch of different outreach that's happening, whether it's group tickets, whether it's corporate sponsors, and getting all of those things coordinated is, again, something that we are working hard at, but it is a little bit complicated. To get to the work that we're doing in the future state, it didn't happen overnight, that this kind of slow kind of sense of like, why is it the energy and the not quite there? Didn't happen overnight, and it's going to take us a bit to go. Part of it is things that Taylor's already talked about. We got to get the right products in the right hands, the right people. The return ticket credit is awesome, and it's great flexibility, but the challenge is we can't turn around and necessarily sell those tickets when they come in within 24 hours that fast. So what does that turn out to be? An empty seat. So we are going to be working with you to figure out, we have to get our data deeper. We've got to figure out how we're doing outreach, where you're maybe even selling a ticket before you know you've returned it. Because we know how many people are going to return tickets on average for each match. There are things that operationally we just have to get in tune and smarter. That'll take a little piece of it, right? But it's 100 other little pieces. What are the things we're doing on concourses to activate with our players? We heard you loud and clear. We want to see our players engaged. we're trying to figure out how to do that so that when you show up at a match, you never know who you might see on the concourse. You never might know what you might engage with. Too often we have our fans walk by, crossbar challenge, done that. Picture in front of that, done that. Now what am I going to do? How is this match any different? So our teams are continually trying to map out reasons to attend, right? We know if it's a nice sunny day, it's easier. But we have to figure that out. And I will tell you, we're not quite there yet. For a long time, the Sounders are in a position culturally to protect our base, and we're not necessarily in pursuit of those new fans. We're definitely in pursuit right now. We've had families age out. Some of you may be in this situation. Took your kids to matches, middle school, high school, they went to college. They're not here anymore. So we go from 4 tickets to 2 tickets. You might have seen that in your own sections. You just have to keep filling the funnel. And again, that's where, when you talk about growth and where we're going out and doing, we think the kids are the entry point for families. We think that, again, there's a lot of different parts of our community we have yet to engage. And those are all initiatives that we'll see to help fill that funnel so that we can turn those tickets and get the building full every single match.
Start times, 7:30. I talked about it a little bit before, but we'll acknowledge again, the feedback we've heard from you is the same feedback that other clubs are hearing from their fans, is the same feedback the league is hearing from all the clubs collectively, which is how do we continue to make our broadcasts as consistent as possible while also making sure our matches are accessible for all different types of fans. I know that Adrian has heard it loud and clear, and as someone on the product strategy committee that's constantly working with the league, this is something that they know and have heard and are actively working on.
With the possibility of a soccer-specific stadium, Hugh, you mentioned that earlier, what is the process for determining if that's the right move and the impact that will have on the fans from transit to people who live up north, all of that?
So the idea of a stadium, if you haven't heard, the concept is simple. Can we create a better environment experience for our fans, period, right? It's the beginning and the middle and the end. We know we have possibility. We've seen it in other markets. To answer your questions, what will happen in process is we have to have a partner in a community that is willing to take this on. We have to have the resources potentially to think about, is it even possible to pull in the costs of what these stadiums are? And then the third leg of that is we are going to do a very intense engagement with our fans to uncover and unpack specifically those things. When is 20 minutes too far for me to go to a game? Is there mass transit available? What is the ingress, egress? All of those things need to be determined. These stadiums don't come out of the ground in 2 years. It takes 5 to 6 years, and so we're going to have to make that decision pretty quick, and that's the work we're doing right now.
So we have one final question. It's for Hugh specifically. That's what I was told.
Oh boy.
And before we do it, I just want to say, if you have any other questions, there were some we weren't able to get to, you can still ask them, and we will go back retroactively, and we will answer them to the best of our ability on the Alliance Council page website, so we can get that information out to you. Hugh, can you tell us about your favorite player growing up?
So this is I was in the era of Pele. When Pele came, I'll be honest, I was drawn to the sport because of his visit to Seattle. So again, that was all I really knew and understood about the sport. But again, it grew over time, and again, I appreciate the question.
Very diplomatic. All right, well, thank you both. And thank you, everybody, for sitting here and listening to us. And we hope you found it valuable. And we look forward to talking to you out as we're walking around. And definitely, if you haven't yet, run for Alliance Council and go out and vote also, because there's tons of us that need your votes.
Big round of applause for Council.
Thank you.
Cameron.
Well done.
And all our council members that are around. Thank you, everybody.